It helps you figure out what you need to study. I can't tell you what to study. I can tell you exactly how you can figure out what you need to study. Yeah, like you want to study what is going to spend as little time as possible, but give you the greatest outcome. Why would you study something that's only one question on an 80 question test when there's another thing you could study that's 20 questions, but it's only 5% of the material? That's low hanging fruit. You study 5% of the material. Those odds are incredible. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to Reframe. I'm Presley Kane, and today we'll be talking about how to set goals and plan your semester and ensure that you achieve your academic semester goals. So let's get into it. I want to, my methodology has come from a few things, a lot of different places over the years for how I completed the semester, and I'm going to be explaining that methodology to you about how I completed last semester. This was fall 2023. The second semester of, or the first semester of my junior year, right? So I want to start by highlighting someone that I've recently started studying, the late Kobe Bryant. He had a nickname for a reason, the Black Mamba. And one thing that he was very certain of at 13 years old was that he wanted to be the best basketball player of all time, right? And he knew that he had to, he had his goal, right? He had his goal so that he could put his head down and step up, take one step after the other, after the other, after the other, right? So he's focused with his head down on steps in between, and he's got his goal. This is why having a goal is so important, right? He said in an interview, you can't jump from the bottom of Everest to the top. Meaning that it doesn't matter who you are, what you are. You can't just jump from the bottom of a mountain to the goal. You can't reach the goal immediately with no interim steps. And to climb a mountain where you can't see the peak, well, what are you aiming for? Where are you going? Where's your direction? What way do you go up the mountain if you don't know where you want to end up, right? So what do I think about, how do I think about this in an academic setting, right? I set my goal for the last semester. My goal was to become as efficient as humanly possible in accounting studies while remaining within 3 points plus or minus of the average. So let's break that down, right? I want to become as efficient as possible in accounting. Meaning I want to get as much output for my input of hours from accounting. And I want to do this while remaining within 3 points plus or minus of the average grade on every assignment. Meaning that, breaking this down to another level, I essentially want to spend less time than all of my peers on accounting and end up with the same grade as them. That's what I'm interested in. That was my goal for this last semester. And it's something I wanted to challenge myself to do, to become that efficient at something, to really understand and hone in my abilities to focus for a short amount of time and get a lot done in that amount of time. So how did I go about achieving this, right? I created a master to-do list, pretty much, essentially. I took all 4 of my classes, actually. I took all 4 of my classes, and I listed out every single assignment for every single class onto one sheet. And each week I would look at these sheets and then put them into my calendar, and this is what I had to do when I had to do it. And this really allowed me to break down what I was spending my time on during the week, how much time I was spending on school during the week. And I put this pressure on myself that if I thought it was going to take me 2 hours to do an assignment, I would get it done in 2 hours, right? And how can we further relate this metaphor and analogy to another thing in the sports world? I want to speak a little bit about Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart is the University of Georgia's football coach. He's a 2-time national championship, back-to-back national championship guy. He is built different in every sense of the word. He's done unprecedented things, and being at Georgia right now, I hear a lot of the things he says, and it directly impacts a lot of the things that I do in my life, because his ability and his willingness to win games has propelled our university into a new light that I don't think many understand yet. So what is one thing he always says when he is asked about the national championship, right? And it's week 2. He's like, next Saturday. That's all we got to worry about. We are worried about the game at hand. Why? Because he's got his peak. He's got his goal. He knows where he wants to be at the end of however many weeks. He knows exactly where he wants to be in January. He wants to be playing for the national championship and winning the national championship. But what has to happen for him to get there? He can't get lost in the sauce and think about the national championship 24/7, right? He's only concerned with next week, and he knows, because he set up a plan, he knows exactly, I have to do this, 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 and this is what your semester to-do list is. You have to do this, 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 this to achieve your end goal. It's about planning. It's about setting the steps. It's once you know what steps you have to take, all you have to do is take them. You don't have to think about taking them. You just take them. And that is an incredibly powerful place to put yourself in. You are only acting. And the only thing you're focused on is execution. This may sound a little crazy to the average listener, but I implore you to, at least implement some of these strategies into your study life and school life. But there's one thing in particular, this last strategy that I'm going to talk about, that really propelled my academic career and was the driving force behind everything I did this semester and how it impacted me. And I want to speak a little bit how it impacted me and how you can use it in your life, right? It's called the 80-20 principle. The basic principle is what 20% of inputs of work will yield me 80% of the result, the outcome. So let's break that down, right? In a class setting, how could this look? Using the 80-20 principle, if I study this 20% of material, what 20% of material is going to give me an 80% on the exam? In an pure academic setting in school, this is highly unlikely that 20% of the material you learned is going to yield you an 80% on the test. That's highly unlikely. But we can extrapolate this down to a more manageable percentage. Maybe 20% of the material yields you a 40% on the exam. Maybe 10% of the material yields you a 30% on the exam. This is how you want to think about what you're studying. You want to put yourself into a situation where you're putting in less work than is you can think of it as a ratio, right? If you're putting in 10% of work for a 30% outcome, you're winning 3-1. That is extremely powerful because you're hacking your ability to use hours and get more output from individual hours and time units. And that is what is so important to me right now in college, so that I have time to do this podcast, so that I have time to spend time with my friends, so that I have time to read books that I want to read, so that I have time to also be an accounting major, which is very difficult and takes a lot of time. This is how I achieve all of it. I make sure that everything I do, I'm getting the most return for my time. And you could be thinking right now, Presley, this is crazy. It is a little bit crazy. It's a little obsessive. It's a little senile. I know that for me to live the life I want to live, I must do these things. I must do these things and live this way. And I enjoy it. This was a little bit about how Kobe has impacted my life, how Kirby Smart has impacted my life, what I've taken from these very successful men, and how I've implemented that into my own academic career. I hope that you can take some of these strategies and methodologies and use them in your own life. Learn from me as I learn from others, and let's grow together. if you got some value from that, please follow us on Instagram, our social medias, follow the podcast, follow myself, follow my producer. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.